flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the Board of Supervisors meeting, April 15th, 2025, and I hope everybody got their taxes done. This day is the deadline, I think. Are there any changes to the agenda? I have none. We shall meet the department heads and elected officials in, and I got an email from Sheriff Glenn Denning, and he is not going to be here. He's out of the office attending training on civil procedures today. And no concerns with anything that's on the agenda. You can see that our civil division continues to be quite busy from the monthly reports and fees collected. This is the highest amount and busiest month ever. Gail is at 89 this morning, and we have 14 houses out of county.
Is he gonna make it for the 5-year program?
No, these
Maybe
are-
that's why he's out of town.
Yeah, we were kind of hoping, maybe we could tape it
Okay.
and watch it at our
Mandatory
convenience.
watching. It's like that HIPAA stuff we do.
I would, but I have another meeting.
Oh, yes.
Colin, how's the IT department?
Good. Good morning. Just keep busy like always. Don't really have anything new to report. We had a lot of stuff going on here this weekend where we ran a lot of maintenance and stuff. So it was a long weekend, but that's about it.
Okay, thank you. Sarah Doty?
Good morning. So, I'm currently working on our ICAP renewal for the next fiscal year. So I have emailed out, asset lists to each department that has, things that are on my list. So if you could give those back to me by the 25th, we have a meeting that day. Open enrollment for insurance also is coming up. So the 21st of April, through May 19th is when it'll be open. If you need to go on and, change things, it will automatically change over if you don't want any changes, but if you go on to Plan Source and elect your new changes, that needs to be done by the 19th of May. Other than that, just business as usual.
Okay, thank you.
You are welcome.
Rodney, maintenance department?
Good morning. Just got several things going on, but nothing new to report today.
Okay, thank you. Bruce Lee, you're just in time.
Let's see, we're going to start the demolition of the sidewalks at Stars Cave here in a couple hours. Concrete contractors gonna be moving in tomorrow to start on our ADA sidewalk project there around the nature center. We are still trying to chase down water leaks on our main line coming into the nature center. This week, I think we're going to, just try to dig it up, I don't know, in sections and put some shut-offs on it to try to isolate where in that line that leak is. And just process of elimination, try to work backwards towards the meter, see if we can find where that is and maybe just get away with replacing a minimal section rather than 3,000 feet of line. So we'll see how that goes. We're gonna try to have our crews do most of the digging. So I guess we're gonna see how that goes. So Stars Cave's gonna be kind of a mess this week. We'll have construction going along kind of side of the road there, and at the nature center. The nature center will be closed while we're doing all of the work there in front of the main entrance of the building. So, probably the remainder of this week, maybe even into next week, depending on, if we get any weather that slows the contractor down. But nature center will be closed while that's happening.
Okay. Thank you. Cheryl Bay, budget director, you have anything?
I just have a couple agenda items.
Thank you. Janelle, treasurer's office?
Good morning, I'm just gonna use those famous words, we're busy.
We're busy.
Nothing new to report, so.
Thank you. Natalie, out of the recorder's office.
Good morning. Everything's well in the recorder's office. Nothing new to share.
Well, this is gonna give Carter a lot of time. Shannon, how's the emergency management?
Good morning. Same as everyone. I've been busy, but I have nothing new and exciting to share. Hey, what were up with those winds last night?
It was
Andy?
good morning.
How's the safety department?
The same, we're just keeping busy, but nothing new to share.
See, I mentioned anybody, nobody's busy. And we're not busy either.
Well, we're probably slowing them down.
Like, what's going on?
Okay.
Yeah, why are we so windy this year?
Moving on to correspondence, I have none here, and I have none at all.
I got a couple things for you.
I have none.
You skipped me.
What's that?
You said you skipped me. I wanted to give you an update on the projects.
Well, I thought you were gonna do that here anyway.
Well, I'm gonna do that on new projects, but I need to
Oh,
give you an
okay.
update on ongoing projects, so people know what to expect.
Do you ever think you might intentionally got missed?
Yes. 100%, Jim. So I do wanna mention, they are still doing patching on Highway 99, but we're hoping that wraps up today or tomorrow morning. So that one lane stuff will go away for a while. I think 99 will probably sit there, I would be shocked until May, wouldn't surprise me at all, before they fire back up, but that's still up in the air, scheduling wise. They've been done on 34 for a little bit, but that's gonna come back in, possibly tomorrow, and they'll start milling. So, so that'll obviously close a lane and get activity going again out there. So wanted to let you know that you're gonna see more closure out there, and that process will start. And then, our dust control contractor, may be moving up to the middle of next week, which was supposed to be the following week. So I think that's a little fluid at the moment, but that may be happening a little bit earlier. So anyway, wanted to mention those things since it did involve closures. And the bridges are moving along very well, talking about possibly pouring the Danville Bridge deck maybe sometime by the end of April. So, that's not the end of the work, but that's a good sign of progress, so. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Okay. Moving on then to discussion vote, we have accounts payable claim for $650,027.88.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Sarah?
Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Tom Roger,
Yes.
Jim Carrey.
Yes. We have payroll reimbursement claims in the amount of $694.07 and 0 for cash taxes.
Motion to approve. Second.
Sarah Doty?
Tom Roger,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell,
Yep.
Jim Carrey.
Yes. We have a public hearing on proposal to enter into general purpose loan agreements.
I move that we open up a public hearing for the proposal to enter into a general purpose loan agreement.
Second.
Sarah Doty?
Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Tom Roger,
Yes.
Jim Carrey.
Yes. This is, from Dorsey, Whitney LLP. We have prepared an attached proceeding to be used in April 15th board meeting of supervisors, the board meeting covering the hearing on the general obligation loan agreement and providing for the adoption of the resolution, taking additional action with respect to the general obligation county purpose notes, Series 2025, the notes, and authorizing a property tax levy for the fiscal year beginning on July 1st, 2025, and the maximum amount is $3,299,099 for the payment of debt services on the notes.
You need to read the resolution on the next page.
Yeah.
It'll say resolution.
The resolution. the board sup-
That's the next agenda item.
What's that?
The resolution's the next agenda item. The resolution resolution is the next agenda item.
Next agenda item.
We have to read the agreement, the agenda, so if anybody has any public comment, they can
Okay,
do a resolution.
Okay. All right, the resolution is taking additional action on the proposal of limiting the general obligation loan agreement and providing the levy of the taxes to pay the general obligation county purpose notes, whereas the board proposed to enter into a loan agreement. The loan agreement is a principal amount not to exceed $3,828,000 pursuant to the provision of section 331-402, 331-441, 331-442 of the Code of Iowa for the purpose of the undertaking parking improvements at the Sheriff's Department facilities, $250,000, undertaking general physical plant repairs and improvements in the county building, $225,000, provisions of information technology equipment for the county building, $515,000, and acquiring election equipment, $61,000, and acquiring insurance for county operations, $2,777,000, and pursuant to the Iowa law, and duly published notice for the proposal action has held a hearing therefore on April 15, 2025. Whereas the county intends to issue a general obligation county purpose notes, Series 2025, in evidence of the obligations thereunder and the future and anticipations of the principal and the interest will come due on the notes before July the 1st, 2026. And whereas it is now necessary to make provisions for the levy of the debt service property tax 2025-2026 fiscal year for the payment of such anticipated principals and interest. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Supervisors of Des Moines County, Iowa as follows. Section 1, the board hereby determines to enter into a loan agreement in the future and orders that the notes be issued in such time in evidence thereof. The board further declares that the resolution constitutes the additional actions required by the section 384.24A in the Code of Iowa. Section 2, for the purpose of providing for the levy, the collection of the direct annual tax sufficient to pay the principals and the interest of the notes is the same income due. There is hereby ordered levied on all taxable properties in the county the following direct annual tax. For collection in the official year of beginning July 1st, 2025, sufficient to procedure of the maximum net amount sum of $3,299,099. Provided, however, that the time of the notes are issued, the actual tax levy amounts required to pay the principal of the interest and the notes in each year shall be determined based upon the interest rates at the rates to which the notes are issued. And this resolution shall be supplemented by a resolution of the Board of Supervisors to provide for such actual and necessary tax levy amounts. Section 3, a certified copy of the resolution shall be filed with the county auditor, and the county auditor is hereby instructed to enter for collection and assess the tax hereby authorized. When annually entering such taxes for collection, the county shall include, sorry about that, the same part of the tax levy as the debt service for fund purposes of the county, and when collected, the proceeds of the taxes shall be converted into the debt service fund for the county and set aside therein as a special account to be used solely and only for the payment in principal and interest on the notes, hereby authorized and for no other purpose whatsoever. Section 4, all resolutions or part thereof in conflict herewithin are hereby repealed to extent of such conflict. Section 5, the resolution shall be of full force and effective immediately upon its adoption and approval as provided by law.
Woo.
You get the next one, Shane. Anybody in the public have any comment on this? We should give them 2 minutes to you can call in at 319-753-8203, extension 4, 319-753-8203, extension 4, or you can email board@dmcounty.com. That's board@dmcounty.com. We'll give you 2 minutes for that. It'll take you 2 minutes to get my breath back. Any comments, Cheryl?
So levy rate's still gonna be 1.66379, so that's not gonna change. We have in the budget to borrow the 3 million from taxes, 3,299,099, and the rest of it'll come from fund balance, which will still leave us with over $1 million in the fund balance at the end of that year.
And I guess this is not long-term debt, this is a line of credit, so that June 30th, this bond is paid off. There will be no long-term debt, and all that money's in the levy or in fund balance, so, that's, anybody's got a question, they've only got 10 seconds left, Jim.
10 seconds. Tracy, you got 10 seconds.
Yeah, nothing.
That's a first, I mean, wow, Tracy.
Okay, shit, no, Shirley.
Time's up.
Time's up, okay.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Sarah?
Tom Broker,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell,
Yep.
Jim Carrey.
Yes.
Motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
Sarah?
Tom Broker,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Jim Carrey.
Yes. You want this stamp?
Sure. Not going to the federal government, so they can send down a tactical team. Track down everybody who initially.
Okay. E, we have a resolution 2025-021, the final plat for the first edition to the Dam House subdivision. I see nobody is recently here.
Jared sent us an email.
Send us an email, he's got another meeting.
Yeah, he works with us from Lee County Board of Supervisors.
So, this, what this is a, whereas the section 354.8 of the Code of Iowa states that the governing body shall certify by resolution the approval of the subdivision and plat. Whereas the final plat for the first edition to the Dan House subdivision has been reviewed for performance by the county standards, by the Des Moines County auditors, Health Department, Secondary Road Department, and Land Use Department, and has been duly recommended by the mentioned entities for approval. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Supervisors hereby approves the final plat for the first edition to the Dan House subdivision with the following action. permit for the on-site wastewater treatment system shall be obtained from the Moines County Health Department prior to construction of the new residence, and a code compliance system shall be installed prior to the habitation.
Move to approve.
Second.
Sarah?
Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Tom Broker,
Yes.
Jim Carrey.
Yes. We'll, sign these after the meeting, if that's okay with you. Now we have approval of the contract with Henry M. Atkinson and Sons Incorporation.
I can hit on that a little bit.
Okay.
So that's the new election equipment that, I'll be purchasing. We have a contract with them, for like their maintenance and things like that, so that is what that is for, our new contract for the new equipment.
Yep.
We've already approved the
Yeah,
expenditure.
we've
Yeah.
approved the expenditure
So, motion to approve the contract with, Evans.
Second.
for- Sarah?
Tom Broker.
Yes.
Shane McCampbell.
Yep.
Jim Carrey.
Yes. Okay, sign these after, Sarah, you got one.
That works.
What's that?
That works for me.
Yeah. Go ahead and stand, get this one. Now we have a fireworks permit for 34 raceways. For the J&M Display Corporation at 34 raceways, see attached, and, information, the dates, display is 4/19/25 and 8/2/25. And, everything looks to be in order here. We have fire department, everything's in order. What's your wish?
Motion to approve.
Second.
You just can't.
Sarah?
Shane McCampbell.
Yep.
Tom Broker.
Yes.
Jim Carrey.
Yes. Now we have a public hearing. For approval of the IDOT secondary road budget, and 5-year construction.
Motion to open public hearing.
Second.
Sarah?
Tom Broker.
Yes.
Shane McCampbell.
Yep.
Jim Carrey.
Yes.
This is when the room clears.
Somebody lock the door so nobody leaves.
This is kind of a thrill for you. Usually they do this at the very end. Everybody can leave.
Oh, they.
Haven't been
Don't
hot.
kid yourself.
Chris?
Where you going, Chris?
Don't kid
I'm outta here.
yourself.
Andy?
As thrilling as I'm sure this will be.
Matt, come back, Matt.
So I don't have it in the agenda, so this is long.
It's a good thing you don't have to sell commercial time.
Yeah,
You would
that's
not
true.
have much funding.
That's true. Follow up your agenda, those are the ones you're gonna sign, you want these to kind of go through. They're a lot easier.
Cheryl?
You too.
So, yeah.
Cheryl's tipping, AV's gone, Bridal can't wait to get out.
We love you, Brian.
I know you do.
But you have a whole folder
We do have
file
work
here.
to
I do.
You got a lot. You get 10 minutes.
You get 10 minutes.
Yeah.
No, I'll just, I'm just gonna finish what I'm doing here in a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, he's leaving, she just hasn't left me yet.
You're leaving? All right.
I see what you're saying.
My strategy worked. You guys need a break before we go?
Yeah.
Rip it off like
10
a
minutes.
Band-Aid.
One-
Give him
one-
9 minutes.
Bathroom break.
Should've brought my candy. Candy's down over here.
Let's take a 2-minute break, right across the hall.
Sounds good.
Brian, can you give me a quick?
There's more in here than we can afford.
The quote of the day, there's more in here than we can afford.
Someday.
What do you, one of the, that must be Natalie's.
Our cup runneth over.
So the first year is not a true number. It's truly not, because we have a large project we're trying to figure out if we can afford or not. And if we can't
What's the
afford
large
it,
project?
the biggie in the first year of the upcoming program is the
What is that?
concrete paving of 1.2 miles of Iowa City Road.
Really?
I'm sorry,
Because-
I said Iowa City Road, Pleasant Grove Road
Oh,
from
okay.
Iowa City to Highway 61.
But got a headline in the Des Moines County News.
Yeah, I did.
Well, we're gonna pave a dead-end gravel road that just got rocked.
There you go.
I don't want that. Don't want too much
There you
crap.
go, that'll get them out.
Oh,
Iowa City Road to
Excuse
where?
me, sir. I came
I
back
was
from the
gonna set it
meeting.
over so
Sure, pal.
Have a good one,
Be sure
Natalie.
when you put that in your plans that it says it's going specifically to the
Yep.
Cochran household.
That's right.
Well, our lane's a half-mile long, so that's gonna double the price.
Yes, it'll be 4 lanes.
Brian,
Yeah.
from Iowa City Road to where?
Highway 61. It is, so you can see it.
With a rust drop happens.
Got it in, what do I have it in for, somewhere around $2 million.
And that's the one you're not sure you can afford?
Yeah, I have it in
That's
here for 2
Pleasant
million,
Grove.
Pleasant Grove Road.
Yeah.
That's the, can I afford it or not? And that's why there's more in the first year financially than what we can afford, is because if it gets shuffled back, then we have some other stuff in the first year we can kind of transition and try to go to some smaller stuff. So if we can do it, then some of the smaller stuff absolutely will get shuffled.
Pleasant Grove Road is already paved.
You can just pre-pave.
Oh, yeah.
Tearing out concrete, putting the concrete capture. If you get into this stuff and you haven't gone through my program before, it's all color coded with what I'm handing to you. What they're gonna sign is not, because it's DOT software. But I try to make it easier to follow. So if it's red, it's red on here. If it's green, it's green on here. So just to give you an idea, you can see the fiscal years if you get curious, but segment, so green, upside down. Let's see here. Right there. So Iowa City Road,
I really
right
don't want
here,
you to
so,
do that.
so here's red. Right there.
What's with the freedom?
That's later in the program.
Didn't you already do that not too long ago?
No, we didn't. We did a little bit, see this gap, both ways from the quarry, we did that.
Oh,
Then
that's
we fell
where
apart.
it's at, okay.
Yeah. Pleasant Grove Road's a theme in the program, because there's a, later in the program, this segment where we've applied for SDBG funds. That's, I think right around
Any funds available for the one you're not sure you're gonna do this year?
for the Pleasant Grove Road.
Especially assessed you.
Well, it's local dollars if we have them or not. I don't have any farm to market dollars to put towards it right now, so it would be local dollars if we can afford it. I won't probably make that decision until July or August, once we're done with our current year and I can see our carryover and what we have. So,
I'd love to stay for the whole thing, I'll watch it from home while I'm writing my article.
Done.
We're out of time. Oh, you want that back?
Nope, it's all yours.
Thank you.
Let me know if you have questions.
This is the only time I like having a little
So hurtful.
Mine's new, so I.
Every cloud has a silver lining.
That's right. See you soon.
See you, Lori.
See you, Lori.
Bye, thanks.
Are we gonna lose a board?
Running them off.
Have a happy Easter. You're gone. Yeah, you're gone too. It'll be fun. Thanks.
Yeah.
You want something to write in your diary tonight?
Huh?
You want something to write in your
My
diary?
diary.
All right, now that we've cleared the room.
I'll leave.
They all leave, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, I
I
thought
didn't
you
know
meant
where
you
you
had
were going with
lots
that.
of stuff to write in your diary. I didn't, but.
He's a man, he never had a diary.
I'm gonna write that stuff down, somebody might see it.
Yeah. These days they take pictures or text it or tweet it or something.
That's right. No, but nothing's secret.
All right, so I'll just roll through this. I'm gonna go fairly quick, so if you have questions, these guys have heard most of this at some point, so
Sure.
please stop me. And,
We actually had to sit through the road tour.
not very long. That board meeting took a while, and Jim was gone.
Yeah.
So, but I will try to move along fairly quick, but I also wanna hit on stuff because I do know that people every so often do stream this. I had somebody call our office and, asked a question about a project last week on 99 or something and said, well, I didn't hear Brian say anything about this on the, so it's a person that's never been to a board meeting, so people do take their time to watch every so often, so try to get information out there. So, very first, as you flip it open, it's actually page 2. Sorry about the way this all formats. The color, I give a ton of credit. So Becky does all of that to try to make this something you can understand, because the one that they sign is black and white and you really wouldn't follow it very well. It's all DOT software. We get no say in this whatsoever. It's not formatted very well and everything else. So the very top line there on the first year, and you can see the fiscal year 26, it's red. I'll remind you that red correlates to the color on your map also, if you want the map beside it. Pleasant Grove Road, PCC, you're gonna hear a theme here, so don't get confused. I think I have Pleasant Grove Road in here 3 different times. This is the first segment that we were looking at. This is it's about 1.2 miles, and it's from Highway 61 over to Iowa City Road. And to be really honest with you, I just don't know yet whether we will have this money on hand to be able to do this project or not. We have started meeting with landowners. Actually, I've met with all of the agricultural landowners. We're still looking at culverts and needing a little bit of right of way, but for the most part, we're gonna try to do this with as low impact as possible and try to minimize any impact to the landowners. Still have to meet with a couple residents along there, residential houses, I guess I should say. But, so we're proceeding like we can afford it. We just don't know for sure. I don't know yet. We're gonna have to see how this year ends up and move forward. So just so you guys are aware of it. So the first year in our overall program has, for local dollars, we'll just stay with local dollars. And if you want a dollar summary, go to the very last page of the program and you can see a dollar summary by fiscal year and by fund type. So just so you know for another time. So in this program, in the first year, there's $3,045,000 of local projects. We can't afford $3 million worth of local projects in the upcoming budget. So the first year has multiple types of projects in it, because if we don't go do a $2 million project, it will free up some funding to go do a smaller project. So that's why you're gonna see multiple funds in there. So some of these projects, whether it's the big one or whether it's some of the small ones, they're gonna get shuffled back. So, so just to give you an idea. So anyway, Pleasant Grove Road, that is taking up old concrete, putting down new concrete, putting a rock base underneath of it, and we will not put curb back in if we do that. So, And there's a couple culverts on that segment. A few of the culverts have been replaced already, and there's still a couple culverts that need to be done. So, so that's the can we do it or not project. I would really like to do it, and the main reason I'd like to go after that is because there'll be some competition up there. The DOT is gonna be paving this summer, and then they're gonna be paving next summer. So there'll be a contractor up there with a concrete plant set up, which gives us some competition on a bid, for concrete. So if we can't afford it, I think it would be a good thing for the value for the taxpayers here. We just, you know, our offices and our facility or our entire department is, we have X amount of dollars and that's all we have. So if I'm not comfortable, we'll pull the plug. But we'll have that conversation one way or the other as we get going, so.
So if you were gonna be able to do this, all these projects in red, when would they actually start? This, like after
No, I don't think
July
any
1?
of them would be till next year,
Till next year?
calendar year wise.
Calendar year,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
alright.
Yeah, I don't see, not that we're not working on stuff, but reality is we're sitting in April and you can only get so much stuff ready and done at one time. So for the most part, if I see one here I think could happen sooner, I'll let you know, but the majority of these are probably a next year project.
Okay, and while I've stopped you, why, what is the thing that keeps you from knowing how much just that following, so this would be, if it won't start until calendar year 26, it will mostly be funded in FY 27?
No,
No, it would.
no, our fiscal year is July to June.
Uh-huh,
So if we bid it this winter for April, May, June construction, it's gotta be in this year's budget
Budget,
and it'll be
okay.
funded out of the money. We can't bid something for this year hoping the money's there next year. So no, it would be paid for out of this fiscal year. Even if it rolls over into the next fiscal year, we will have the money accounted for.
okay. So what's the variable that keeps you from knowing, cause you're getting pretty close to
Yeah, so, I
hearings
mean,
next week, so.
I mean, it's not a bunch of guesswork. I do projections all the time and looking at everything. You know, dynamics, for instance, kind of a mild winter, for instance, saves us some money, both on overtime and, I mean, just, there's a lot of stuff. However, we did some bigger projects this year that weren't anticipated. We spent 130 grand on Pleasant Grove Road for a box culvert extension you've heard me talk about.
Sure.
That wasn't expected.
Okay.
Our asphalt bid for, which was, I know a lot of big projects, but we did 3 smaller roads, Seven Ponds Road, Tama Road, and South Prairie Grove Road. Those were locally funded, and that came in a couple $100,000 high over our estimate. So, to be honest with you, I can't get this bid this year, so I finally, cause I had hoped to bid this for this summer's construction, once I knew I was gonna be tight enough to be uncertain about funding, and I live in a world of uncertainty, but I'm not going to go bid a project I can't afford. I will never put this county in that position. So at that point, I quit doing theoretical projections, and I said, we're gonna keep working on this in-house, we'll keep designing this in-house, and once our year end is done and we see what kind of money rolls forward in our carryover, and I can sit down and do a fresh projection of here's what we have in the bank, here's what we have for expenditures, here's what we have for revenues coming up, where am I? Then I'll make that decision. So that's why I'm targeting July or August. I've been doing guess projections now for 5 months, and I finally just said, forget it. We kind of missed the window of time, and again, not necessarily the fault of anybody else, it's just getting meetings with landowners and stuff like that, it just dragged out. And some of that's my doing. So eventually I was able to say, well, realistically, this is not a this summer job, so there's no reason to keep guessing on money. We can do a lot of this, because everything we're doing now is not a waste of time. We want to do this project. I don't know if we'll be in this fiscal year, but we want to do this project. So the design, it's all good. We put it on the shelf and pull it back off in 2 years, 3 years that we had to. So no waste of money there. Meeting with the landowners, always good. Anytime you can meet with the landowner, talk it through, let them know what you're thinking, get their input, always valuable. So everything we're doing is reusable. So I finally just quit making guesses and projections, knowing I could do a much better job of that in July or August, because this is gonna be at best case a bid this winter for next spring construction.
Okay.
So that's why the what ifs, and some of the what ifs are because of some of the bigger cost things that came up this last year, that just were extra beyond what I had anticipated. Not, some of that happens every year. The other part of it is how much local option sales tax come in. Some of it's the revenue side. Does it come in? I tend to estimate under on local revenue because, again, I'm a self-contained budget. By code, I get X amount. The only way the board can do more than X amount is if they pay for it out of their own pocket. And they do a little bit. They do some rock, they do dust control. But I can't go to them and say, nothing against Sarah, but I can't go and say our election machines are junk. And this is not something I carry in my regular budget, so can we look at a budget amendment and bring this in? That's not the way I work. That's not the way my budget works. So I have to be comfortable if I can afford it. It's just that simple, and I won't pull the trigger until I know. So that's why.
Thank you.
Yep. So the biggest reason, honestly, I wanna do this project in this location is because there is competition in that end of the county. If I can take advantage of it, that'd be great. Because I'm always looking for value, but value doesn't matter if you can't afford it. So we'll know more, I'll know more, and we'll pivot and move on to something else. If not, and this project will happen eventually, it's just a matter of when. If we've gotta go to a couple smaller projects, save a little bit more money, and maybe do it next year, then maybe we'll get lucky. Maybe the DOT will still have a concrete plant set up, maybe we'll still get competition, and maybe we'll do it in a year or two. So, but that's one of the reasons I'm looking at all the dynamics.
I was a contractor, mobilization and demobilization costs are usually quite a bit of money to move on, so that if you find somebody here, you could share that mobilization.
Well, exactly. And another reason I mentioned competition is there's two guarantees in this area. There's no competition for the actual concrete, and there's no competition for the actual asphalt. Two of the biggest things we do, and there's only one supplier of each here that can service this area. There is a new concrete plant in Mount Pleasant, but I don't expect them to be geared up to be able to handle a large-scale paving job clear over by Mediapolis. So there's just not a lot of competition. Years ago, there were 2 asphalt plants and there were 2 concrete plants. And then if you brought a DOTer in, for a large project, which didn't really exist back then at that time, then you had 3 competitors. So there's always competition in the concrete world of actually putting it down, working it, the labor side of it, but the product itself is where we just don't have any competition. So if I can, like I said, even though in our world this is kind of a small project, financially it's not anymore, but size-wise it kind of is. If we can save a few bucks and do something more economical and actually afford it, let's get her done, because Pleasant Grove Road as a whole needs to be addressed, if at all possible, over time. So, and the other thing, this location, from Iowa City to gypsum plant, or to Iowa City to Highway 61, also, there's already a new a relatively new concrete road all the way up to Mediapolis Road. You're gonna have the interchange sitting up there at Mediapolis Road eventually here. Gypsum plant's gonna be closed, right at the highway, if you remember that. So if we could get this done, that means in future projects, this will serve as a nice little detour and a route for traffic to be able to continue to use in the area if we could get it done, and then if we eventually, when we work on down the road, it'll be available. So
When did they open a concrete plant in Mount Pleasant? I guess that.
it just came in at the end of last year.
Yeah.
Really, I guess that was.
Yep. So it was in the works for about a year, but as far as functioning, I believe it just happened the last half of last year.
Okay.
So
The reason we don't have 2 of them here, Johnson lost a bid on one, so he went and bought the company out.
yeah. Yep. And probably did well for it.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't cut you off, did I? Did you start?
No,
Okay.
you're good, thank you.
The second project on here is not it's weird. Again, this is DOT formatting, so this is something that Becky had to do, cause this is the way they wanted. So you'll notice on the second one, it's Beaverdale Road D2 Bridge is the name of it. If you look in the red, it only shows 240,000, but if you look at the total for the project, it's 1.2 million. This is the grant project that I've been through, I ran the paperwork through, you guys are familiar with, I just wanna make sure, that the media is. So we are, our grants, which we're a part of, I wanna say 33 total bridges that were all together, and it's been submitted. So if we get that grant, we're hoping that we get enough money with that to make 80% of, which is the maximum for federal dollars, to make 80% of replacing this bridge. So it's on Beaverdale Road, you can see the circle, labeled D2 on the map, if you know where Beaverdale Road is. I've had I think all three of you buy it, if I haven't, I apologize. Your schedules haven't allowed me to get you all three at the same time, for multiple reasons, but, it's nothing special. It's a bridge, it's old, it was not picked by us, it was picked through a statistic process by a committee that looks at these grants and says, what are the best bridges in the state that comply with the rules that were put into this grant? But it is one that's on our radar. It was in our construction program and it had been something we've been looking at. So it's a good one to get upgraded. So if we get that grant funding, I have a very rough estimate of 1.2 million. That is not an engineering estimate at this point. We have an engineer, we have our consulting firm doing the design as we speak. Hopefully it's a little less than that, but again, 80% of that, which is why you see a 1.2 million, but you see a 240,000. My hope is that we run that through farm to market so that the farm to market picks up the 20%. Our farm to market account is redlined at the moment because of all the asphalt we're doing, which we knew going into this. We didn't know about the grant, okay? We knew we were gonna do all the work, and then the grant popped up. So my hope is that our farm to market will have enough balance built up under the red line kind of threshold that we can still use it to finance and pay for the 20% or whatever percentage it is that we have to make up on this project. So right now it's grant 80%, farm to market 20%. Might be grant 75%, farm to market 25%, but that's the philosophy. So when we do that, yes, we will close Beaverdale Road in that location, which will be a pain for people, and we will replace the bridge and then get it back open. So, as we do with all of our projects. The third one down is, it's kind of just a reminder. We've had this in every year that I can remember. I'm still waiting for the DOT to give us an invoice, so it's not like
You haven't paid anything on the
you
one
can't
side.
run away from it, cause you know it's coming. I've told you every year, I'm not sure that 300 is exactly the number at this point. I can't even tell you how many years I'd have to go back through emails to find whatever that number was years ago, but, it's in the ballpark. Some point we're gonna pay for it. It's just, and we're doing this all the way up and down the 4-lane, just a reminder, on all the gravel road approaches that come up to the 4-lane. The DOT, we have an agreement with them, they're bidding them, with a 50-foot concrete approach. And we're paying for the actual cost of that line item. So, so anyway, we're gonna keep on doing that. This is for the southern portion. So that's already been done now for what, 2 years, something like that. So, so that'll come along. And that's local dollars. This is a project, the bottom of this page, crack sealing, and this is not I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that's a real number. I don't know what that crack sealing is gonna cost. I know I need to do it, but this is the project that absolutely, if we go and do Pleasant Grove Road, in all likelihood gets kicked back into the future. If Pleasant Grove Road gets moved back and I can, we'll probably go ahead and put together a project and get this crack sealing going. So it's a long stretch. We did a new asphalt layer on Mediapolis Road, west of Mediapolis, Yarmouth Road, and then Mount Union Road. We did all that probably 5 to 7 years ago, and we need to go back along and seal up the reflective cracking at some point. So it's on our radar. I don't know exactly when it'll happen, but it's on our radar. So, and when I finally put pencil to paper and have time to try to figure out what it's gonna cost, bringing in inflation and all that sort of stuff, I'll fine tune it, but right now it's just, it's there, it's a placeholder. Realistically, again, crack sealing's a different animal, so I told you the likelihood is that it'll be next year, but those crack sealing companies their schedules are weird and random. I mean, there's a chance that if we pivot on Pleasant Grove and move it back, there's a chance we could put out a bid this year and basically say you can either come in this fall or next year, and maybe something falls through and they randomly show up, but this one kinda depends on what we do at Pleasant Grove. So it's not the end of the world if it gets pushed back, it's just something that I really wanna get done to help the long-term life of that paving. Any questions on that first page? All right, on to the second page. Top of the page, intersection lighting, that's just on our radar. We're trying to put in, I'll hit a couple topics on that thing. I've had a lot of positive feedback along the 4-lane for where we did that at the paved intersections. A fair number of people want us to put it at the gravel road intersections, and that's not money we're gonna invest.
I got a few requests on that.
Yeah, so did I, and I understand it, it's nice, but somewhere you gotta draw the line, right? I mean, at roughly just a little under $15,000 a pop, it does add up. And the night, you know, like I told them, I understand that the 4 lanes new, but if you go look at all the 4 lanes in this state, they were all new at some point. And everybody had to kind of relearn what's that visual, so I know when my turn's coming up. I mean, it's frustrating, but it does happen. But that first year after the 4-lane opened, you know, we want lights that are this, we want that. I mean, there was a lot of that. Most of them now, I think they see a certain road light, like at Flint Bottom or whether it be Dodgeville Road, and they're like, okay, I turn next at the next one. You know, you get that feel. So I had a lot of good feedback. So this is really geared more towards as we keep going north on the 4-lane, but something we're looking at, or I'm starting to look at, is the possibility of expanding the program and possibly putting them in at other paved intersections in the county. Examples, Highway 79 and Danville Road. Danville Road and Mediapolis Road on the other end. Iowa City Road has an intersection with both Mediapolis Road and, so I had Austin create a map. I mean, it adds up pretty fast, somewhere between 12 and 15 grand. Who knows now with tariffs and everything else? I can't sit here and tell you exact cost for each site. I haven't ruled out starting a program of trying to pick out, you know, 5 or 10 a year or every other year, and starting to try to look at that possibility. We'll see. I'm not fully committed. We are committed to continuing to do them up the 4-lane as intersections get done. But I am looking at the possibility of expanding that to some other areas, kind of more of a safety upgrade thing. And it's a pretty economical safety upgrade. I mean, if you can, for 15 grand, give or take, or less, I wanted to see how these did, and so far, maintenance-wise, we've had no maintenance headaches. They've worked, they work, and you don't think about them, which is kind of gold. You know, it's kind of nice. It's what you want in your house too when you do something. So you might see us expand that, and I'll let you know if we decide to do that. But it is something we've talked about. So next one down is a bridge that I've been trying to get to for a while, and it just hasn't happened, and it may not happen again, but it's in here. This is the bridge down on Pumping Station, or on Tama Road, that sits over the drainage ditch. It's a wood back wall, and it fights us constantly. It's always sucking material out from underneath from behind the back wall, because it's in standing water. I mean, so we've talked about bringing in the same company we used a few years back that did the pavement rising and some of the pavement raising stuff with the foam. I tried to get, I don't know about Shane, but I tried to get somebody out there, I don't remember if I had, but anyway, it's where they push pressurized foam into the ground. Most of the time, they're doing it to raise concrete and to level things out. In this case, it would be more trying to plug up holes to keep this from constantly losing dirt or whatever else into this standing water. So I don't know whether we'll do this or not. It's also a bridge that's kind of, in fact, it's one of the bridges we had a very, very brief discussion about when we were talking about ARPA funding. Because it's in a tough spot. It's a little short bridge, but it's on a paved road. It's right at a curve. It's gonna be a hard one to ever fit into a federal type job because I don't know if we can meet all of their standards where it's at. So it's probably one where we gotta find a locally funded type solution and maybe just replace the bridge eventually too. And that's really the debate right now for me is, do I spend some money to try to kind of Band-Aid it together, which is what we've always done with this bridge. The bridge itself, the top of the bridge, the superstructure is in good shape, but it's on wood piling and it's got a wood back wall. And obviously those have limited age, and it's not brand new by any means. So I don't know what we'll do with it, but we won't do this if I decide we're gonna try to fit it in for replacement at some point. We'll see. So, I mean, even a replacement's probably, you're still probably talking 500,000 even for a little short bridge like this is. So there's not I don't know the exact solution, but that's what this bridge is. It's just, it's one of many that are on my radar, and one of many that I still don't know for sure what to do and how I'm gonna pay for it. It's kind of the nature of it. The rinse and repeat part of this, at the bottom of this, rock surfacing, pinching projects is basically what that is. The DOT doesn't love that we have that in our construction, but we really like the public, when we do those in a year, we like the public to see that that's how we're doing that and spending that money, rather than just blaming it into our regular rock costs. So we try to show that. So it's still in there, and we didn't get a lot of that done last year. The year just, I don't know what to say, we just got busy and it got away from us, so we didn't do a lot of it. We have done a lot over the years, and the nice thing is that we have improved a lot of miles of road. I mean, a lot of miles. Some of them bus drivers still don't like, but you gotta take into account those are bus drivers. But I just had a guy, actually I went to the Farm Bureau meeting, a couple months ago or whatever, and the guy hit me up about, are you gonna redo some roads, more roads, like, and honestly, I didn't know what his approach was. I assumed he wasn't happy with the road. That was my assumption, but I didn't know, and I said, well, I would love to. I said, we didn't get nearly as much done last year as I would like to. We'd love to do at least 5 miles a year. And he said, well, I'm here to tell you, boy, that first year is a little rough, but those sure are good roads once they've had time. I said, well, I appreciate it, they really are, but it's a little bit of a growing pain that first year once you do it. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Culvert liners at the very bottom of the page. I try to keep some placeholders in there on the little stuff, and on just a great example, I've got our company that puts bottoms in culverts for us. We just found a culvert less than a month ago on let's see, it would be South Gear, just south, not too far south of the city limits. So south of that retirement area and all that, on the gravel, and the bottom's clear gone. It's probably a 10-foot culvert. I mean, it's a $300,000 or $400,000 box culvert is what it is if you had to replace it. And obviously we don't have that particular project sitting in our program, and so I called up our company, the company that does a lot of those liners, and both liners and puts bottom in culverts for us, and they took a look at it, thought they could do it. We think we can do it, so we're gonna work with them, and for about 10 grand, we're gonna go put a bottom in that culvert and hopefully buy another 10 or 20 years out of that thing. So when I call it a placeholder, that's why it's there, is because, I don't know, I suppose it's inappropriate, but the fact is shit happens and then we're left to deal with it. So, and that's the truth. When it's under a road, until there's a hole on top of the road, you just go on with life because you got, 600 some miles of roadway. So you go after, that was one, that's a busy road. I mean, there's a lot of traffic on that road. So we really wanted to find something more economical there, and it looks like hopefully we have. So that's really what that's there for. There's nothing predetermined. I can just almost guarantee you that something will come up. So, any questions on that page? All right, I really should bring in a lot of YouTube views, I would think. I would think our revenue stream would be
You were at
strong.
3, now you're down to 2, I see.
Oh, we lost one.
You're probably
That's a third of our revenue.
There goes one of those projects.
All right, next page, right at the top, the token right away. Again, if a project shows up that, we need right away to do, I guess an example of that would be that culvert. I haven't done it yet, but that culvert on Pleasant Grove Road that in the end was a really, I know 130-ish, I don't remember the exact number, but 130 grand seems like a chunk of change. But if we'd have dug a 20-foot deep hole and put a brand new box culvert there, I don't think 300 grand gets it, to be honest with you. Because you gotta remember, if you dig a 20-foot deep hole in a paved road, and you start doing the math that have the safe slopes and everything, you're probably putting in 120 foot of concrete bare minimum on top of it to have a big enough hole to work in. So when you start looking at the math, that saved us a lot of money. But I need to go by right away. Fortunately, the landowners, we don't do this very often, but the landowners are really good to work with us. It was kind of the contractor was available, he worked for pretty, inexpensively. So I'm gonna go back by right away from them. I'm already in the process of meeting with those landowners, and they know it, they don't care, life's good, they're really happy with the project, we're happy with the project. And so that's why you see right away in there. It's not one specific site, it's just, again, these things come up. And something like that comes up every year. It's not always 130,000, and actually a lot of times you don't even know it. We just deal with it, but it's the kind of thing we do. So, any questions on the first year? There's more what ifs in the first year than normal. I don't really like my first year to be that way, but $2 million's a lot of money and on that Iowa City project, so we're gonna make sure we can afford it before we make that decision. And the board will be a part of that decision too. So, all right, second year, I'm gonna just kind of try to move faster than I just did. I say that, we'll see. Very first project, Pleasant Grove. I told you Pleasant Grove Road's a theme. The fact is that road's 35 years old, give or take, depending on the section you're on, and things are getting to the point. The other fact is back when they did roads like that in this county, they didn't do a lot of upgrade to the culverts. They kind of lived with what they had, and then they just went on top of it. And that creates a lot of problems. Whereas when we go do a paved road, we try to put good concrete culverts underneath so that hopefully the next generation can reuse them. So I'm hoping those culverts last two generations of road rather than just one. That wasn't the case back then, so there are a couple culverts under Pleasant Grove Road that are west of Iowa City Road. So they're not in the immediate goal of replacing, that are pretty big. I couldn't tell you, we haven't put it, that's not even a solid number. I'm just telling you that we're eyeballing a couple of those culverts, maybe to go ahead and do in advance. Maybe not, maybe we'll just hold on to them and do them when we do the paving eventually when we have that money. But they are on our radar in the program, and so you may see that get pushed back, or you may see we may be working on plans and start going after, until we actually start designing one to see what size it needs to be and everything else. I don't have a true cost estimate at the moment. It's not so close on the radar that it's a priority at the moment. Our summer in my office is so busy right now and I continually drop new stuff on them that you guys don't ever see, so this is not a front of the burner priority at the moment. Next one down, F10 bridge, it's on Golden Road. It is in the middle of Timbuktu that very few people here have probably been across. But it's a nice, important link, kind of off in the middle of that area for the agricultural sector, and it's just an older bridge. So we're looking at the possibility of going ahead and getting that replaced. It's not that big of a bridge, it's probably gonna be, I don't know, it's probably gonna be under 100 foot, which is a fairly small bridge in our world, but, what it is it's a really tall back wall. So it makes it a little more complicated. It's almost, if it were a little smaller, we'd look at a beam and slab and try to do it in-house, but it's just right at the threshold where I think it's gonna have to be a contractor-driven project. So it's on our radar. As you'll notice on that, it does have federal aid dollars, so, you know, my guess, even though it shows this way, I think that'll be 100% when it's all said and done, paid for through other funds, no local funds in that one.
What's the swap again?
Well, so swap, I will digress further if you want me to digress further. A couple of years back, the state of Iowa took a step and the state of Iowa started using all federal dollars, and they swapped it with more flexible, not local dollars, but almost like more of a farm to market type dollar, and it was called swap funding. And what it did with local entities is it got us out of using federal dollars, which was great because federal dollars are a pain. They got a lot of strings attached to them. We don't use them constantly. You're gonna see them in here a lot, but we don't use them constantly. And so the state's like, we can afford this. They handle federal dollars all the time. So it brought an efficiency in. It was a really good, really working relationship. Then the highway program came along and pumped enough new dollars into the overall thing that the state can no longer afford to swap those dollars. However, there is still a little bit of swap left because of how things work, not in our end of it, but how they work on the state level. So on bridges that qualify for federal funds, even though they look at it as 80-20, in the end, the 20 ends up getting made up by swap dollars, but really they're taking it all out of our federal bridge funds. I don't think I can explain it better than that, other than ultimately it's all federal dollars. It just doesn't look like federal dollars on ours. 80% of it does.
So, cause I worked in that world a while
Yeah,
ago.
yeah.
My guess is with the swap, and maybe I'm completely wrong, they take that administration off of your, neck and you just get the money. Is that what you're saying?
Probably to some
'Cause that's
extent.
the-
I mean,
'cause that's the problem with federal aid money
Yep.
in any arena, it's all that administration.
Yep, and administration is part of the overall expense. I mean, what I have here is geared more towards the pure construction cost, but you're right, and administration is a factor. Without sitting down and refreshing on the overall dynamic, you're not gonna see swap anymore in anything other than bridge projects. And the only bridge projects you're gonna see swap on are a specific kind of bridge that qualifies for federal funding. There are other bridge projects in here you won't see it on. What it is if it's, in the federal aid world, there's on system or off system. I think off system are 100% straight off, right off the bat, 100% federal funded. Because they wanted to make it easier for local entities to go do a bridge with federal funds. That is kind of a tough one to do, you know, they don't have the money to help. On system, I don't think they could, by federal rules, they could not do 100% funding, cause let's go back to the fact that most federal funding is a max of 80% of any project. So that 80% still held. So then the DOT said, you know what, we'll still do the swap, cause there's not a ton of them, but there are some. So we'll go ahead and do the swap and keep that. So what that does is in the DOT's world, it keeps it 100% federally funded project. So they don't, it was the simplest way for them to make things happen. Trust me, we were along for the ride and this is what fell out. So in the end, we're paying for it. I don't care how you look at it. One of our accounts is paying for it. We're just not using local dollars to make up 20% of it. So.
The federal regulations, if the state senators would like to recall that, if they gave federal money to the county or the city, both the city and the state had to do all the regulations, the paperwork and everything. The state had to do it anyway, so if they kept that, just what you said, it relieved the local government
Right.
of some of the regulations.
Well, you wouldn't use it if you had to do that.
Yeah.
Make everything about 20% more expensive.
Right, yeah.
It does, it adds, and we've seen that. I firmly believe that's part of why our projects all came in higher this year than we expected, was when you bring in federal dollars, you bring in federal wage rates also.
Yep.
You bring in our projects, we were selected for good Lord, for participation of disadvantaged business stuff. So they brought in 3% on 2 projects of that, so they had to go find a construction company that fit that requirement type of thing. So it is what it is. I do believe it increased our costs by having that. I think if it had been swapped, those would have been cheaper projects. But whatever, it is, that's the world it is now. We kind of reverted back to what we were 5 years ago or whatever. So anyway, this bridge, at some point when I actually get you out, I mean, you can see it on the map, but at some point when we get you out, I'll run you across this bridge so you can see where it's at and have a visual.
Where is that Golden Road at?
Almost due north of the ammunition plant. Yeah, due north of Middletown,
F10, I think.
F10.
10?
It's green,
That green one?
right in the middle of
Right
your.
there.
Yeah, I'd look for, that's in your second year program, I'd look for different colors. Okay.
Bottom of that, there's rock surfacing, that's pinching, and we're gonna rinse and repeat, cause when you look at the next page, you're gonna see culvert liners and right of way. So I guess any questions on the second year of the program? Other than I do wanna point out again, you know, the second year of the program right now only has 550,000 in, which is a fairly low local number in the construction program.
But that's subject to change, just in case you gotta move.
Those first 2 or 3 years things are gonna shuffle. Let's just say we can go do that Pleasant Grove project, but it pushes us to where I'm comfortable with the minimum carryover that I'm willing to cover. We may slow it up for next year and let that build just a little bit to move forward more comfortably. So there's all those dynamics. As you guys know, I'm always looking at it. We'll sit down and talk, all that sort of stuff. But the next couple of years are a little bit lower than normal on local expenditures and construction. I don't think those are necessarily realistic, but it's all gonna depend on this first year. It's a moving target. You know, back to the whole, you only have this much money, so you better make sure you account for it and do it right. So I'm gonna go to the blue year, that's the 3rd year of the program. Beaverdale Road has another bridge to the north of the one that qualified for the grant. It's been on, same thing, it's been on our radar. So I'm hoping maybe in that 3rd year, we can go do there's another, it's a federal aid swap funding thing, same dynamic. It's a little easier, I think, than the Grant Bridge, but I have about $1 million in for it, so that's the first one. Bottom of page 5, Jimtown Road, creek stabilization. That's probably a low number, to be honest with you. That's a locally funded project, and I would suspect I'm low on that. There's a bridge out on Jimtown Road. I'll have to run you across it sometime, but it's a Flint Creek Bridge. And the creek has done what it always does. It's eating towards the roadway, so it's got a big oxbow in it before it gets, so the bridge is here, the road's here, and you know, here's the bridge, and that creek is doing this. And then going under the bridge and starting to, it's not up against the road yet. We actually have this in 2 different places, and we may try to combine them and do a contract project where we need to bring a contractor in. We need to buy right away or temporary, one or the other, so we get access to, because it's on private land where the creek is right now. And we need to armor that, we need to rip wrap that and keep that erosion from continuing onward before there's a bigger problem. Obviously, it's only in the 3rd year of the program, so it's not something that I'm worried about failure right now, but it is on our radar. like I said, we have two similar sites. One of them is right here, the other I don't believe is in this right now, but, Flint Creek kind of does that to us. We did something like, a little bit like that a couple years ago, I think I had, and it was a bridge up north of Burlington, and it was Flint Creek, and we did I wanna say that was about an $80,000 job where we rip-wrapped, we bought right-of-way off the landowner and we rip-wrapped to stabilize the channel. It was starting to eat behind the bridge. That one was more crucial. One big rain on that one at the wrong timing and we were gonna have a bridge sitting high and dry. So, okay, I'm gonna go on to page 6 then. Intersection lighting, I mentioned to you that we're either, whether it's commitment to the 4-lane or whether it's expanding. You're gonna hear this topic again if I decide to move forward with it. So it's in there. Highway 61 approaches, same conversation to the north. We'll have some approaches to pay for up there. That is strictly just a placeholder number. I have not put a minute into figuring out exactly what those will cost us. And then rock surfacing and culvert liners and right-of-way. So that theme continues.
Question, do you, do you put in any sort of a factor for inflation? I mean, if you're gonna figure, culvert liners this year and culvert liners 4 years from now?
On something like that, no, and only I say that because, those 3 or 4, those that right away, that culvert liners, that whatever, I don't have, unless I've got a specific project that I have an estimate for. If I have an estimate for a specific project and I know I wanna do it, yes, I will. But if those are just, I want that there in case something happens, because normally when you do one of those, it's not that you just went and did 5 or 6 of them just because it was a good time to get the contractor to do it. It's like this one on gear where it's like, we better do this, or else who knows when the next big rain comes along, whether we'll have a road. So, I don't put that kind of effort into it because I don't have a specific one. If I have a specific one, if I got an estimate 3 or 4 years ago from a contractor to do $10,000 for this one site, and I know I wanna do it, and I'm finally where I can make it happen, for whatever the reason is, I can make it happen, yeah, I'll either call and get an updated estimate because I know it's gone up, or I'll bump it to 15,000 to make sure I'm covering that site. So, I account for inflation and all sorts of stuff, but in that kind of thing, not a whole lot.
Yeah, that makes sense, I was just curious.
Well, I mean, heck, inflation's why we're doing half the work for about the same money. That's the unfortunate truth. So that's the end of 2028. Man, it's hard to imagine I'm saying 2028. That's still, anybody remember Y2K? So, 2029. So there's a couple things here, but let's start right off. We'll get back to the theme of Pleasant Grove Road. That first project for Pleasant Grove Road, the very first project in 2029, which is the purple year, that is roughly from the quarry over to Danville Road. Now, obviously, the hill past the core we've already done, so we're not tearing that out. But that is the linear part of Pleasant Grove Road that we just submitted an application for SDBG funds for. So now this segment of Pleasant Grove Road, I've always talked about getting rid of curb and gutter on Pleasant Grove Road. I don't see any way we can get rid of curb and gutter on most of this segment. The banks are higher, there's quite a few houses there, there's just not a good way to go put ditches in and a lot of that. We did get rid of them on that hill, for the record, and we will get rid of them if we can. But there are places there where I don't think it's possible. So a lot of that road is just pull concrete out and put curb and gutter concrete back in, with some rock support underneath it. So we, as you can see, I estimated 5.1 million. That's a great example, Tom, where I tried to make sure that number accounted for the possible of increase, but with an item like concrete and the lack of competition, it's really hard to know whether you're anywhere near that or not. I mean, maybe this is a $6 million job in 3 or 4 years. You know, maybe we can't afford the whole thing. Maybe I can only do 2/3 of it. I don't know. I mean, that'll be, so SCBG funds, that's the federal aid part of it, we've already applied for, we'll get those should be in the vicinity of 1.8 million. And then we're hoping to have enough farm to market at that point to match that project. So as you can see, total 5.1, but 3.3 of FM funds and 1.8 of SDBG funds. So that project is gonna happen. The question is can we afford the entire thing? Does our farm to market account have enough money to do that? Bridgeport Road is the next one below that. Here's a pretty big what if. It's a little bit like Iowa City, it's a little bit like Pleasant Grove that we've been talking about in this year's budget. I don't know that we'll have the money for that, but as you guys are aware, we did the northern end of Bridgeport Road. I think the reality is this part of Bridgeport will probably get shuffled back in the program a little bit. Not so much because of priorities, but because of funding. I think it'll be harder. Probably by then it's not a $2 million job, it's probably more than that, realistically. And it's a little bit longer. The segment we did was a little bit shorter, and then you've got the quarry, which is kind of its own animal, because you can't just close off the quarry. So we'll work with them and try to do something to keep one of their driveways open. And then there's the rest of it all the way down to the bridge across the river there. So it's definitely on our radar. I'm gonna put it in this 4th year. Do I think we'll be able to afford it yet locally? I'm not sure about that, so we'll see, but it's out there.
How far across that bridge does the county go?
We just go to the bridge.
What's that?
The county line is down the middle of the river.
Middle of the river.
So we go to the bridge,
and then-
yep, and that's all we'll do.
Now, where that's, they're gonna change the curvature of that?
We will, if and when we do this project,
Yeah.
we will redesign the curvature off the end of the bridge so
Yeah.
that traffic can make that curve better.
Yeah, 'cause it throws a lot of people.
It does, I know,
Even-
and
Even in a car, it does.
yeah, and I don't know why it ever got done that way.
You just kinda banked the wrong way, it's kinda like,
Well, you come off the bridge and then it goes to almost like a normal cross section instead of
Yeah.
still staying banked. It
Uh-huh.
almost, you come off a bridge and where you're going into a curve and it should be more like this.
yeah,
And it goes back to more like that,
Yeah.
and you're still in a curve. So on that outside of that curve, and why they did it that way, I have no idea. I don't know if the design standards are different or, I don't know. But yes, we will redesign that to make sure it handles that better.
well, that'll make a lot of people happy,
Yeah, I know there's been some unreported wrecks out there.
yeah. I'll never forget we was in town one day, well, this has been 20 years ago, 25 years ago maybe.
Mm-hmm,
The ice company out of West Point
yeah,
went off and that, come down there, their load shifted, you know, when they hit that.
yep.
They threw them over in the ditch, and people was passing ice out in town, they had a pickup truck load of ice trying to get, what the hell are you gonna do with ice, that your guys let it melt?
Yeah, I'd say let it melt or you better have a big freezer. So anyway, it's probably a bit more like a 5th year type project, but right now it's in the 4th year. Bottom of that, old Highway 61 segments, HMA is asphalt in my world. We're obviously inheriting some shorter mileage from the DOT when they're finally done. There's some small segments. I think when it's all said and done, I'd have to double check this, but I wanna say total, we're gonna pick up roughly 10 miles of little stub dead end roads. You know, what I'd like to do is look at those. They're very low traffic volume. They're obviously a little bit rough because they were a state highway, but they don't have much on them.
Yeah.
So we might try some different things on those, try to find some lower cost options out in the industry and try them on those roads to see how they do, how they live. So that's kind of why this is in here. There's not one specific thing. just seeing if we can find some lower economic stuff and how it lives, and not do it on a high volume road, I guess. So that's kind of what that's geared towards. Page 8, transition from, we'll finish 29 and roll into 2030, that doesn't roll off the tongue yet. The top there, H13, this is you can see it's special funding. We've tried to apply for multiple grants. This is it's the big truss bridge down the bottom.
The bowstring.
Yeah,
I love that bridge.
that sits, yes, and it may still be there a long time, but we don't have the local money, we don't have the federal bridge money right now to go after it. It's got a core levy on both ends of it, and I tried to start working on it a couple years ago, and it was an absolute nightmare with the core. So I just dropped it because we didn't have the money.
You've got a height problem there too, or clearance problem.
That's what the farmers would love to see. People think it's clearance, but they'd love to see the height.
If you were gonna, when that gets they won't rebuild that anything like it is. I've got some, I worked on a couple of bridges like that when I was a boy.
Yep.
There's not very many around, it's
No.
beautiful.
No, it wouldn't be a truss, it would be it'll be a regular, whether it be a multi-span slab or a multi-span beam bridge, one or the other.
That's the
So,
bridge you seen the muskrat walk across.
yeah, that was the bridge of us, the flood of 2008. Yeah, that's the truth, I'll never forget that. Everybody needs bridges, I guess. So that's why it's in there. I have no idea, but we'll keep an eye out, and if we can throw it into a grant and try, we will. Or at least the consideration for being used in a grant. The problem down there is there's no traffic, and traffic count's always a factor in any consideration, and there's just, they love it down there, and it keeps all that traffic, some of that ag traffic from being out on 99, so it is a good thing, but it just doesn't qualify for a lot of grants, so, but it's on our radar. Here's the next headache on that is they're redoing the historic bridge list for Iowa, and my guess is that's gonna land on it, and that'll bring a whole nother layer into the entire mess. So, but it's a lot of money, so it's not like we're just gonna run out and do it, so. Then there's a culvert on that next one, tail end project on 2029, down on Skunk River Road, nothing special there, it's a smaller twin culvert that would probably be a smaller box culvert if we ever did it. So 2030, I'm just gonna kind of read through 2030 and then give my typical 5th year of the 5-year program speech. Pleasant Grove Road, we're back to PCC paving on Pleasant Grove Road. I told you it was a theme. If you look at the map, that's that green and yellow section that Lori said, I don't know, I hope you don't do it or something, I don't remember what she said. I think it's just gonna be a pain for going to Big Hollow. But that's kind of that remaining segment of Pleasant Grove Road, to give you an idea. Beaverdale Road PCC. Beaverdale Road's a high traffic road, that's one of the few concrete roads. We did a big patching job on it a few years back, and it really helped it, but we really haven't addressed it a whole lot. So there's that. Highway 79 asphalt. I don't know what I'm thinking on that, because that's not an accurate number. So I'm assuming that was a typo. It doesn't matter, it's in the 5th year of the program, and really my 5th year is to show you we have other priorities. Beaverdale Road Bridge Deck, that's, whether it's a deck or whether it's a replacement, time will tell, but that's there on Beaverdale, on the paved portion of Beaverdale Road. As you remember, a couple years back, Meeker's Landing Road got brought to our attention, culvert. It just hasn't made it to the top priority list, which I said when we actually met out on site, and unfortunately, it's still a reality. That's why that's in there, is it's not forgotten, it just hasn't happened, and I don't think I can touch it for that price anymore either. Probably goes back to Tom's inflation comment that he made earlier. Meeker's Landing Road PCC, that's where we've talked about if we ever do something down there, maybe trying to mill that road a little bit smoother. It's not a full-blown concrete job or anything. Again, I don't know if that's ever gonna happen, but it's on our radar. Page 12, Washington Road, PCC, that's gonna be a nightmare when we do it. Or if, well, no, not if, it'll have to be done. If you have been out to our shop and you go from basically from the curb by our shop on down the road, that's what all the landfill traffic runs through. And if you drive on that road, it feels like all the landfill traffic drives on that road. So yet another concrete road that we're gonna need to do something with. And it's not a cheap one either. And you look at that subdivision of Henry's with all the traffic, and it'll be a beast when we do it. A small bridge there on the end of a dirt road is what that is. The next one, YS5. Then towards the bottom, you got Summer Street asphalt, Danville Road asphalt, or Dodgeville Road, I'm sorry, not Danville Road, asphalt. Next page, this is more of a grant type thing, and this is not reality unless we find some funding. And from what I understand of the changes the current administration have made, which I probably, for transportation projects, I probably lean towards agreeing with some of the changes, but realistically, I doubt that this road will ever qualify for a grant now with some of the changes that have been made. The reason this is in here is, obviously, as you guys all know, we've had quite a few Amish up in that area move into the area, and they are horse and buggy, and which is slow moving, and the steel wheels and the steel horseshoes are very hard on pavement. But on top of that, they're slow moving objects out in the road, and I can't do anything about it, but it is concerning and obviously to some extent dangerous. If the money were ever available, we'd love to go in probably at least on Mediapolis Road. We've got them expanding to 99 now, so I'm not saying that's reality, but they are buying properties on 99 now, on the north end of 99. I know of 2 properties as we speak that have been purchased, and they will be houses. One is already a house. But on Mediapolis Road, if it were, some type of outside funding were to be available, you'd come in, bring a bunch of dirt in, widen the shoulders, extend the culverts, because once you widen the shoulders, you gotta have longer culverts, and maybe give a paved shoulder for the Amish to run on to get them off of that traveled lane. I love the concept, but we don't have the money, and we will never, I don't believe, just local dollars have the money to do that. So it would have to be eventually some type of a grant. So that's why it's in here, is to show it as a need. I think it would be a good improvement. We'll just see where the future goes with funding. And then this project actually was the last one we added at the very bottom of the very last project. If you have rolled through the intersection of West Avenue and South Gear, so you're actually 3/4 of that's in the city limits, and you go south on the gravel. So if you're with me location wise, you go south on the gravel, right, not very far south. I mean, like, you can walk it as fast as you can drive it. There's a culvert across there that most people don't pay any attention to, but it's been jumped a long time. It's kind of that, it takes the water from that deep corner that's right by that retirement or assisted living place or whatever it is. So it's half city, half county. City's on the east side, county's on the west side. The city approached me, I mean, we've been aware of it forever. The city approached me within the last year about it. Jesse gave me a call and said, what do you think about this? I said, well, unless you have money, quit looking at it, because it's not very pretty. So we talked again, and we agreed that it needed to be on our radar, but we didn't know for sure when either one of us could afford half of a project there. Again, you're probably talking, by the time you come in there and do a box culvert and stuff for us, you're probably talking at least the culvert under the road would be 300,000, give or take. They probably need to do more than that when you look at that whole area and the fact that it's kind of blossomed up, and Pearson's looking at more development, all that sort of stuff. So their side might be more expensive, but we would split the cost of under the road. So just to give you an idea, it's on the radar. It's probably not truly a fifth-year program project. It's probably one where we can both kind of look ahead and line our funding up. It probably jumps to like the second or third year when we think we can, but it came up so late in the process that we agreed we'd talk further on it.
It's in that bad a shape though?
It's just not good. I don't know, yeah, and it's got concrete on top of it, so that adds to the cost. So, yeah, I mean, it's, what they did was they paved a road and they didn't put a wider culvert in, so really the big problem is there's no room. I mean, you get off the pavement and there's just nothing there. The culvert itself needs to be dealt with too, but there's other issues. It's kind of a developed area that wasn't handled properly to be developed, so. So here's my lecture on the fifth year. Well, do you have any questions, first of all, before I give my lecture about the fifth year? So I use my fifth year, this is as much for the board as you, to be honest with you, but I use my fifth year, it's just not reality. If you look at the final numbers on the last page of the program, it totals to 23 million for just the fifth year. We all know we don't have 23 million. We really don't have 10 million in the fourth year, but the reason the fifth year looks like it is not to inflate the look of the overall program. It's because you guys, no different than I, get dinged on a regular basis of why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? Just, yeah, why don't you just go spend 12 grand or 15 grand and go put up lights at every single gravel road intersection on a 4-lane, or you know, whatever it is, it all adds up. Or somebody decides, oh, well, we had somebody in here, a month ago about paving, wanted to at least bring up the conversation of paving, Ferris Lane, right? Those all take funds, none of them are in this program, and it's a reminder to, you can always pull this up. If somebody corners you on the phone and says, why in the world aren't you paving South Gear? Or why aren't you, man, this road's got a subdivision on it, 150th north of Mediapolis, or north of Burlington, that comes up. There's a big subdivision at that. Why haven't you paved that? You can always go to this program, because every single project in this fifth year of this program, you can go look at. You don't need to be an engineer to go look at it. No, it's gotta be on our radar. So that's why this fifth year looks like this. And the reason it's 23 million is because it costs twice as much to do anything as it used to. So this is very much for you guys to lean on, or if you need a reminder because somebody's pressuring you about something, to remember how much money we need to spend that we really don't have. So it's easy to forget about, but it's the reality of our system.
Love this page.
So I will get off of my soapbox, but it's true. When you look through that, when you start reading the fifth year, if you don't believe me, you can go drive them and be like, oh, yeah, this has got to be on our radar. This is getting old, you know. So anyway, there you have it. I'm gonna say, so you're gonna approve 2 documents today. You're gonna approve the program, and then there's a DOT budget you're gonna approve. It is a complete waste of paper. It does nothing. If you sat down and compared it against our county budget, it probably doesn't match. It's just a mandatory document that we have to do for the DOT. I'm not gonna, that is my lecture every year about it. My lecture hasn't changed. The DOT knows that's my position. It's just something they have to ask for because it's required. So that's the story. And without any questions, which I'm always happy to answer anytime, I would recommend, I guess, if you got a public hearing going now, so whenever you close that, I'd recommend all these for approval. And then next week, something will change. So.
You had, looks like 3 people pretty much sat through this. They
All
should
right.
get a chance to ask a question.
Yeah.
Unless they've dozed off at the computer
Wake 'em up,
screen.
Jimmy.
Wake up.
We look for public comments. You can call 319-753-8203. extension 4, or email board@dmcounty.com. And you see there is 3 people that is listening, we'll give you 2 minutes to do that.
And if you don't want to call into this, but you have questions, or if you watch this later, our office number is 319-753-8241, and I am always happy to talk to anyone. So, you might not catch me, leave me a message, I'll call you back, I always do, so.
Tracy, what's your number? We'll give your number.
Give him Tracy's number.
My number is publicized in
Oh.
every single edition of the Hawkeye on the masthead. And so if you can find that, I would point you to it, but you need to read the paper and find it yourself, so.
I read the paper all the time.
Now
Have you
we know
seen
where
my
to look.
number?
Well, Lori's
Huh?
listening.
Have you seen my number?
I've seen, no, but I got your number. Let's put that way.
It's in every edition of the Hawkeye, so.
Well, I'm proud of you, I've been here long enough, there have been some, reporters that jumped ship early into this presentation over the years.
The only 2 since I've been here that's done it is Bob Sarr and you.
Yeah, me, also, there you go, both Hawkeye too, so.
But the punishment.
The second map, since we're still in our 2 minutes, all it is a snapshot of the big stuff we've done since I've been here. So,
Historical projects.
Kinda, yeah, stuff we actually accomplished in the last 21 years. It just kinda lets you see how much we've done. There's a lot more to be done. Devin hates it because he tries to find a different color every year it comes across. I finally gave him the blessing to start reusing colors. We're running out of the AutoCAD color palette.
Okay, your 2 minutes
Quack.
is up.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second,
Sarah?
Tom Broker?
Yes.
Shane McCampbell?
yes.
Jim Carrey?
Yeah.
I move to approve, secondary roads budget 5-year construction program.
Second.
Sarah?
Shane McCampbell?
Yes.
Tom Broker?
Yes.
Jim Carrey?
Yeah. Brian, you wanna give me your blue pen?
I don't care. It doesn't matter, Jim, to be honest with you, you can do whatever you want with the whole thing because it's all electronic. Becky will push a
Oh,
button.
okay, so you don't need the blue pen on
You're
this
good.
one, huh?
Just
Hey,
sign
we're
it
not
up.
through this meeting yet.
I said you're done.
He's on through.
Tracy, thank you.
I have 2 stories to write by noon, so I gotta go
Woo.
get busy.
Lori's probably up from her nap now. She emailed me.
Probably is,
She
yeah.
emailed me and said she heard what I said about her.
See you
See
later.
you later.
There's one of our listeners.
See you, Tracy.
See ya.
Take care,
We'll
thanks,
run
Brian.
those
Yep.
empties so you guys know. Stamp.
I bet the rest of the meeting agenda goes pretty fast.
I bet so.
You think?
Lord, I hope so.
Okay, moving on, we have personnel actions, we have 3 for the correctional center.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, what did
For the correctional center, the first one is Angela Dunham, going from full-time correctional officer to part-time correctional officer. Previous rate was $26.49, new rate is $21.19. The next one is Peyton Krogermeyer, correctional officer, anniversary, 6-month step increase, $48,634. The new rate will be $49,868.07. And the next one is Peyton Krogermeyer, unpaid hours, 77.11.
Motion to approve all 3.
Second.
Sarah?
Shane McCampbell?
Yes.
Tom Broker?
Yes.
Jim Carrey?
Yes. Then we have two from conservation. First one is, Jacqueline Goodman, permanent voluntary. No change in hourly rate up to 29 hours a week, and it does not say what the rate is.
Motion to approve. You got two, don't you?
Yeah, there's two.
That's okay, we'll go ahead. Shane?
Second.
Sarah?
Tom Broker,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell,
Yep.
Jim Carrey.
Yes. Yeah. Should be. Okay, the next one is, of conservation is, Trevel Kalinsky, seasonal naturalist, new hire, starting rate starting on 5/19/25, ending on or before 8/22/25, at $15 an hour.
Motion to.
Second.
Shane McCampbell,
Yep.
Tom Broker,
Yes.
Yeah.
Jim Carrey.
Yeah. Now I have one from emergency management. Is Shannon Prado. And 18-month step increase. Previous rate was $66,743, the new rate, and 38 cents. And the new rate is $70,451.35.
Second. First, motion. I've been sitting.
It's been a long meeting.
Yeah.
Carter wore us down, Tom.
Where'd that cat
Carter wore us
get?
down, Thomas.
Second first.
I'll second.
It sounds like Tom has the whole thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Tom Broker,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell,
Yep.
Jim Carrey.
Yeah. Now you got me mixed up, I stamped that before.
It's been a long presentation.
Carter, that you got it.
I know what you're talking about.
Got us all befuddled.
I thought I got through that pretty fast.
Okay,
We're gonna have to start
now we
with
have
pizza for
the
these
sheriff's
meetings,
report
too.
for the monthly fees collected, clerk's report for the fees collected, and the auditor's report for fees collected for the first quarter of 2025. And these will be on file in the auditor's office for your viewing at your own discretion. And we have minutes for the special meeting on April 10th, 2025.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Sarah?
Shane McCampbell,
Aye.
Tom Broker,
Yes.
Jim Carrey.
Yes. Now we have the minutes for the regular meeting on April the 18th, 2025.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Tom Broker,
Yes.
Yes.
Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Jim Carrey.
Yes. I think, did we had a special meeting after the regular meeting.
We did.
Yeah. The special meeting,
That's right, it was the 10th and the regular meeting was the 8th.
Yeah.
yeah.
She just had the special
They're just
meeting
flopped on the,
flipped on the
Okay.
agenda.
That kinda got me, that's where I was. Okay.
It's been a long meeting. It's been a long presentation. Let's throw it all on.
Amen to that.
It's been a rough one for you.
We're not used to this pace.
Yeah, Sarah, goes,
Yeah.
you drinking coffee today? I said,
I
Brian
know, I'm
Carter.
like, oh.
Okay, does anybody have any other business?
I have
And then,
Committee reports?
I had my community action finance committee, meeting, and we hired a new auditor, a new company to do our audits, and we approved the budget. And it wasn't a meeting, but I did attend the NAACP, ceremony, and, we, read the proclamation forms, that's all I have.
I attended the Joint Safety Committee. We went through the accident logs for the last 6 months, elected new officers, and the Mental Health Agency of Southeast Iowa Board of Governance Board, we're continuing to approve current claims and the documentation required for our, the end services provided on June 30th. That's all I have.
I had a press meeting, and everything's status quo on that. Nothing changed since the last meeting. So everything's going real good. They're still using the pump truck for their own, going good, and they have had other people call wanting to use their services, so it's been a good thing for us. That's it. Now, future agenda items. I have none. Public input, we'll give the public 2 minutes. They can call in at 319-753-8203, extension 4. 319-753-8203, extension 4, or email board@dmcounty.com. That's board@dmcounty.com.
There are still 3 people watching.
I think they dozed off at the computer.
I'll break something up. So Colin Gerst, 1614 Cambridge Drive, Brunswick, Iowa. I was approached by an older gentleman downstairs there last week. He's having a hard time getting around, had a cane and that, and just kind of asked me who I was, and I just explained to him who I was. He's like, hey, do you know why the courthouse doesn't have any wheelchair or spare wheelchairs for folks to kind of get around? Because apparently he said when he parked out there, he's got to go hit the elevator, go all the way up the second floor and everything. Apparently he's having a hard time with that.
I thought we
And
did
he-
down the basement.
And he admit, no, apparently we don't. At least, I don't know.
Because when I had back surgery, I had one that I had to use. I could have sworn, maybe it was.
The side door has a handicap accessible on the
No, I
basement
mean,
level.
Yeah, but he wants like a spare wheelchair.
Wheelchair to be able to use.
Oh,
just to be
spare
able to sit.
wheelchair, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Because, yeah, anyhow, he mentioned that, there was a group here in town that had them, that you could borrow or were willing to, anyhow. I gave him the board's number and, told him that he should probably reach out, so I don't know if he ever did or not, but I just wanna bring it up. So-
What, do you remember the name of the place that had those, or
I
longer
think that's
now?
that place on,
It's over there all
Special
the
needs.
time.
special needs, yeah, you can get it
Needs
from.
over
Oh,
there.
that one, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought we had one, but yeah, we should have a spare wheelchair for somebody.
We can ask
Well, he
Rodney,
said
'cause we might
he
have
talked
one
with, when I ran into him downstairs, he said he spoke with the gentleman out there, which I think he said Rodney, or I think he talked to Rodney, but, Rodney said we didn't have any apparently, but maybe I should check with Rodney again, just to double check and see if we have them.
Yeah, cause I thought there was one stuck in that room down there.
The
maintenance room.
Because you remember when Bob had his spell? They took him out of here in a wheelchair, they went down and got one.
There was one when I had my back
We had
surgery, I had to
that.
be wheeled
Yeah,
down.
I
Wheel
remember
me
that, I guess I
I
never
did.
thought about whether they come in with something like that or not, but, when
They
they sent
didn't have a
them.
wheelchair, they didn't bring
So,
hurry up. They-
Might,
I have no idea.
might be one someplace, I truly do not know.
I can ask
I'll talk
Rodney.
with Rodney, yeah, I'll ask him again.
That's a good.
Might be able to put up, if we have one, we might be able to put up a sign where they could call a certain office and make a request, cause they wouldn't know until they came up to the door to see a sign kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Or we could steal a couple of those scooters from Walmart.
I hear people are doing it all the time, so anyways.
But anyhow, I just figured I'd bring that up.
But then we had to put up no
Thanks,
drag
Rob.
racing signs.
That's a good thing.
2 minutes are up.
2 minutes are up. Was an aye, we're out of here, gentlemen.
Aye.
Aye.
That's a pretty quick eye.
This, been signed.
No, well, I think you need to sign that, it's been initial.